All right. Another video, another day. I've always been thinking of like, how do we start these videos? Like, do you just start like go straight into talking, or you kind of have like, hello, my name is so and so. I don't know. We're gonna figure that out at some point. Anyways, today we're gonna be talking about why you gotta believe what you say, and like truly believe it, not like some half-ass like I'm saying this, but like I wouldn't actually do this. No, like in every facet of life, why I believe that understanding and believing and truly like following the words that you say are like is essential, right? So I think the first place to start is your friends, right? Now I mentioned in the previous video that your friends are gonna have like a big impact on you, but I'd just like to revisit it. Your friends are, or the people that you surround yourself are. I think there's a quote that goes like, tell me your friends and I'll tell you the type of person you are. I think that is a very powerful statement. And that just basically just means that like, hey, if you surround yourself with people who are perhaps not the best influence for you, then it's not surprising when you end up kind of like your friends, because they are, because you're interacting with them on a daily basis, because you are, you hold their opinions to a high value, then it's more likely that the things that they do, the things that they say, things that they follow are going to be influencing the way that you live. Now, this is all fine and great if your friends, or even if your friends are not necessarily how do I put this lightly, the model person that you want to be. And even if they are, I think this is just part of life. This is just how our society works. But the issue with this, and the issue with surrounding yourself with people, just in general, it means that they will try to, by force or by accident, or passively or actively, they will try to kind of force their opinions onto you in a subtle way, right? For example, when you're growing up and you are maybe like a little kid and you touch the stove with your hand, right? The stove is off, right? But you're just touching the stove with your hand, right? And your parents may come in and say, hey, don't do that because it's so and so dangerous, right? Now, obviously, your parents are doing that for a reason. They want you to be safe. They don't want, if it was a live stove and you touched the stove, it would be hot, your hand would burn, and it would be painful, right? And your parents don't want that. But in a way, they are kind of enforcing their opinions on you, because their opinion is that is a bad thing to do. Therefore, they do not want you to do that, right? Now that extrapolates to many different aspects of life, right? It could be like relationships. Like they say, hey, I don't want you talking to so-and-so because we think that that's going to be a bad influence for them. Now, whether or not that comes from a place of love or comes from a place of hate, it has the same impact, right? It's trying to change kind of what you believe is right. Now let's get into the main topic of the video, is why you have to believe what you say, right? Now, as you go through life, you're going to get like opinions, you're going to get views, you're going to have things that you believe that is right, whether that be politics, whether that be the people you talk to, whether that be the sports that you watch, right? You're going to acquire a lot of beliefs and different things, right? And you'll have your opinions, right? And I think more importantly, I think this is why like I'm more of like a mindset, like kind of working channel. But like when you're doing the work that you want, say for example, you're starting a business, right? You have to be able to believe that your business is going to succeed. You're going to have to believe that you're doing the right thing. You're going to have to believe that you're capable of doing these things, because the people in your life, right, they ideally, if they're, I guess, I don't want to say normal, but like, the average person, they don't want to see their friends struggling, right? They want to see their friends succeeding, right? And when you tell another person as a friend that, hey, I'm going to do this thing that is potentially not the most reliable, it may not end out in a stable career, I may be, working 24/7, it may look like I'm unhappy, it may look like I have no free time, I'm not going to be able to hang out with you guys, right? When your friends, when the people that you care about hear that, they're going to be like, what the hell, this is a terrible idea. And they're going to try their best to kind of persuade you in a way that's that's more common, that's more like everyone does, you know, go get a 9 to 5, go get your college degree, do what you need to do to support your family, blah 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 blah, settle down at this age, don't do anything too crazy, right? And again, I think most of it, for a lot of people, it comes from a place of love, but it also is a way of limiting your true potential as a person, because you're not necessarily allowing yourself to see what you're capable of, right? And I don't think it's necessarily a fault of people's friends. I think everyone does it, you know. You don't want to see your kid, you know, I don't know, like becoming like a starving artist, right? Because even though that may be what they want to do, it's hard to watch, you know, hard to watch your friends, hard to watch your family, you know, just suffer to a point in which they can't, you know, it looks so hard from the outside. Now, on the inside, it may be a different story. But again, I keep going on to side trails, but back on track, why you got to believe what you say is because when those things try to push you away, you no longer have that outside support to kind of like tell you what to do. You only have what's between, well, what's between here, which is your brain and your kind of your heart as well. Like, you only have, the only thing that can kind of keep you straight, keep you direct, keep you like, guide you to your North Star is what you believe, right? And if you truly believe what you say, so say for example, you say, hey, I want to start a YouTube business, right? And I want to make money off of it. And I truly believe that, like, you almost delude yourself into believing that you are going to become successful. Then whatever anyone else says is just noise, right? It's noise. And it allows you to do a couple interesting things, I think. Firstly, when you truly believe what you say, when you truly say, like, listen, I'm going to become successful, right? When other people speak, you know, you can listen, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to follow what they say. You just keep on going, right? You no longer crave or require that external validation. And I think that's something that, at least myself, I've struggled with, where it's like, well, if somebody says like, oh, I need that like permission, right? I'll give you a perfect example. When I was growing up, this might sound a little off, but bear with me. When I was growing up, I used to love having like rice and ketchup. That was like my meal. I loved having that, right? But my mom, she would work, and we wouldn't always be able to just make fresh rice. So it would be in the fridge, and I had to microwave it. And usually my mom would basically microwave it for me, and I would just have it, right? But when I grew up a little bit more, she's like, okay, go microwave it yourself, right? But then I had a problem, right? I could take the food out of the container, I could put it into the bowl, and I can put it into the microwave, but I didn't know how long to microwave it for. And I would always go and ask my mom, right? How long do I put it in? Do I put it for 2 minutes? Do I put it for 3 minutes? Always seeking that seal of approval, that seal that I needed to know. Like, okay, if mom says I can microwave it for 3 minutes, I can microwave it for 3 minutes. And the funny thing is, and something I really appreciate my mom for doing, is that she never told me, maybe once or twice, but I remember the vast amount of times that I've asked her, she was like, no, just put it into the microwave and find out, right? And, you know, I think that kind of helped with kind of realizing, hey, you know, you don't always need, you need somebody to tell you this is the right way. Like, if I microwave it for too long, then I realize, hey, that's too long, I'll put it shorter. If I microwave it for too little, I'll put it in for a bit longer, right? But I don't always need that person telling me exactly how much, right? 2 minutes for me may be too long for you, right? Now, I think also the reason why my mom didn't want that is because she didn't want like a 10-year-old kid that's nagging her every single day of how long to microwave a piece of rice for. That's another story. But again, the external validation is when you believe what you say. Like, if I believe that, hey, I need to microwave this for 3 minutes, and I'm confident in what I believe, then I can do it. But I think taking this into perspective, it's also not being arrogant, not necessarily being open to other ideas. It's just having that main goal, that main drive, that main thing that kind of keeps you going at the forefront, right? And everything else is secondary, right? It doesn't mean to ignore other people's advice. It means that you take the advice, you compare it to what you have. Does it move you closer to where you need to go, or does it move you away? And if it does move you closer, then take it, by all means, right? It'd be stupid not to take advice that is genuinely helpful. But in that same vid, it's also stupid to take advice that is not helpful, right? So, again, coming back to the topic, why you gotta believe what you say. You know, external validation is something that you will not necessarily need as much. And then I think the last one is just being able to continue, just keep your head down and do the work that you need to do while other people are just chirping into your ears, right? And it goes back to what I said at the start, right? Your friends, the people around you will try to kind of like, now, okay, I make this sound like, like everyone's bad. No. I think it depends on the types of friendships you have. Like for me, like a lot of my friends, they're very supportive, right? They are like, you know, this is awesome, this is what you want to do, blah, 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 blah. But there's other people who perhaps may not agree with you in that capacity, right? The point is that regardless of what people say, you need to work. You need to do what you need to do in order to get your task done, right? And if that means that you have to kind of ignore your friends, or that means you kind of ignore the people who are telling you not to do that, then that's so be it. But you can only do that when you truly believe what you say, because if you're kind of shaky on your belief, then you can't necessarily do that. Because if I don't really think this is not going to work out, then my brain is going to be like, this is illogical. Because why would you do something that you don't believe, that do something that is going to fail? Why would you want to do it, right? That's like a waste of resources, right? Your brain is trying to conserve resources. We only have a limited amount, so why would you spend your time? It's an illogical thing, right? So I believe that's also why you kind of have to delude yourself as well. Delude yourself, because at the start, right, I'm making videos right now, at the start, I have no actual proof that this is going to work out, right? I have no real reason, like no proof, right? And in that sense, this is illogical. It's illogical to talk to a camera right here, to share my feelings, to talk for, how many minutes is that? 12 minutes, post, get no views, right? You know, it is illogical. But you have to delude yourself. I have to delude myself to believing that this will at some point, you know, bear fruits of my labor, right? Because if I don't, then I'm just literally wasting my time. And believe me, that is the last thing that anyone wants to do. Your brain does not want to waste time, and you do not want to waste time, right? So you have to believe, and to take it a step further, you have to delude yourself into believing that whatever you do will be successful. And I honestly think, and I'll leave it at this, that the level of delusion that you can have towards your goals is what separates people who, like, separates the scale of things that people can achieve. Because if you really, really believe that you can become a millionaire, billionaire, whatever, and you have the belief and you also have the action, because you believe, you take all the actions that you need to do, then I believe that, or not even I believe, I know that you are closer than anyone else because of simply what you were thinking. But yeah, that's, ooh, voice check there. But yeah, that's kind of what I wanted to talk about today. And if you're interested in this kind of stuff, right, I want to be, obviously, this is kind of a side, but from now on, I'm going to be like reading a lot more literature and a lot more books around the topics I'm talking about, so I don't sound like an idiot. And I'm actually providing better advice, better quality advice for you guys. But that's to say that I read a book before called oh my lord, Psycho-Cybernetics. It's about kind of the way that you think. I mentioned it before in a different video, but I would definitely 100% give it a read if you are interested in this types of thing, these kinds of things, where you kind of change the way you think, because that is really just how a lot of things just start clicking in life. At least I believe. I need to see how many times I say I believe today. Yeah, so that's all for me. Got you guys. Hopefully later today I want to do another video, 2 more videos today. Yeah, see you guys.